This is Duane N6DMR. I'm going to be doing a video on setting up the AnyTone D878UV radio for the roaming function. So if you're familiar at all with the AnyTone, the 878 and underneath the public folders has two new folders. One is a roaming zone and the other is roaming channels right here. These are what you have to set up initially to get the roaming function to work. So let's first look at roaming channels. This is where you would enter the channel frequencies of the repeaters that you would like to search through when you're roaming. In my case, I have three. You put in the frequencies, the color code, and the slot, and you get to choose a name for it. I am just testing now, so I don't have a lot of repeaters in here, but I do have one really good local repeater, W3AD. These other two, this one here is not really very strong. I don't think we're going to actually roam to it, but I also have a known fail channel that what I use to actually start roaming as a test rather than have to drive around and do anything like that. So we have our frequencies. You set your frequencies in there. You can have as many as there are spaces. After that, you would want to enter these frequencies that are relative to where you're going to be roaming through based on a roaming zone. We'll go there now. I've created, I have three zones in here. It's very easy to create a zone. We'll just create another one while we're talking here. Call it roaming 4. Okay. Once we name it, we're going to now put in some channels. I only have 3 channels, so I'm going to add them all. Click OK. You've now created a roaming zone. It's that easy. Now these roaming zones are what you're going to be selecting when you're roaming. You'll be able to roam through one zone. Now you can change these in the radio menu, but for our purposes, I won't be doing any radio testing today. This is strictly a CPS software video. All right, so we've got the roaming channel set up. We've got roaming zone set up. So the next step is to look into optional settings here on the menu. And we're going to look at auto repeater. This is the screen. Auto repeater is the screen where you have your roaming functions and your auto repeater functions. So the auto repeater functions are the first 1, 2, 3, 4 fields and the 4 fields to the right. That is the total of auto repeater. That's where you put in your offsets and your frequency limits and that type of thing. Everything below there is roaming. Okay, so let's talk about that. Roaming has 2 functions in it. It has a repeater check function, which is what actually goes out and queries to see if the repeater is online and active or can be online and active. And then it also has a roaming feature. You need both of them to be on. They interact, so you must start with repeater check on. The only function is off or on, so right now for our purposes we're going to turn repeater check on. That's one things that you have to have. That's the initial start of a connect failure. There's a check interval. 20 seconds is what's in here. I'm going to change it to 10 seconds. You can change it to anything. I'd use 20 as the default to get started. This is the number of reconnections that you have to wait. I'm gonna do some testing on the radio later, so I'm gonna put mine on 1. I have my reasons, but could use the default 23 to really get started. Now, when you get an out of range, you get to have a voice prompt. You're going to get a pop-up on the screen of the radio as well, but sometimes it's nice not to have to look at the screen. So you have a choice. You can choose voice, bell, or off. You choose voice, it's going to say repeater is out of range, and that'll give you the audio indicator. If you don't like any audio indicator, you put it on off. For these purposes of this video, we'll leave it on voice. Now, that has set up repeater check, which is step 1 of roaming. Now we have some roaming settings for the actual roaming process. Now you see auto roaming is here, and I have it on. That's the way roaming really shines, is in auto roaming. However, there is a manual roam on the radio roaming menu. It's item number 1, and if you select that manual roam, you will get an immediate roaming, but it has to be done from the radio menu. But setting up auto roaming can be done in the menu, or it can be done here in the CPS. So basically we're going to turn this on. Auto roaming will be turned on. Now there's a start condition. You can choose from 2 different things. One is out of range, The other is fixed time. Okay, so the out of range, when the repeater check does its check, if it finds out that it gets the message the repeater is out of range, it's going to immediately start roaming. If you put this on a fixed time, it's going to roam it's going to roam after the repeater check has done its thing one time, but it's going to wait now to whatever roaming interval that you give it to roam again. The intervals are in minutes. It goes anywhere from 1 to 256. I'm not going to go down there. I would start with the interval of 1 minute as the default. There's also a wait time. I have that set at 20 seconds. Again, that is the default, and we should use that. So anyway, looking at the last two things is choosing your roaming zone, which we created earlier. So as we look at this, you'll see I have roaming test zone and 2, 3, 4 roaming zones. So since we created roaming 4 together, I'll choose roaming 4. Now the last setting is whether or not you want to see the current channel after it roams, or you want to see the channel that you're roaming to, or the repeater that you're roaming to. I typically use current channel. You can choose, you can check it out on the display and see how it goes. Okay, so to just go through this very quickly, we have repeater check on, we have a interval timing for the repeater check, we have the number of times it'll recheck before it goes to roaming, we have the voice commands, we have auto roaming turned on, we chose fixed time, it'll roam every minute until it gets a connection. Our wait time is 20 seconds. That's an adequate wait time for roaming. We've chosen roaming zone 4, and we've chosen current channel. And that is the setup for roaming. When you write this code plug to the radio will start repeater checking. There'll be a green R in the display menu that roaming is on, and you'll be good to go. I hope this helps. Try to do these videos quickly, but with the information that you need. So thanks for listening. This is N6DMR Duane. I'm closing out.